debate, nothing else.
So do I. So do I. That's
I'm not
awesome.
here to change your mind or anything.
Well, you can try.
I'm not going to. But just a friendly debate.
All right, let's do it. So you've decided to sit down,
Yep.
and you read the sign, I'm assuming.
Oh yes, I have.
And do you know what the sign said?
It said, I think, sorry.
That's okay.
I think eating animals is animal abuse. Changed my mind.
And what do you think about that?
I respect your opinion.
Yes.
But I think there's certain benefits to maybe, like, let's say, having a Big Mac.
Sure.
Yep.
And can you explain those benefits?
Because when you're, let's say, a growing child, you
Sure.
need protein and certain vitamins that you can't get from vegan or vegetarian alternatives.
Okay, and what type of nutrients do you think that is specifically that you can't get on a vegan diet?
Maybe maybe protein.
Protein?
Yep.
Did you know that you can get protein from all plant-based foods? And specifically you can get them from things like legumes, tofu, etc.?
That is true.
That is
You are
true,
right.
because over here we got a bit of a bodybuilder.
Okay.
He's fully vegan. He built most of that muscle on a vegan diet.
Okay.
And the science is actually showing that you can be fully healthy at all stages of life. It's a
Yep.
scientific consensus amongst dietitians.
Yep.
Do you know what a dietitian is, yeah?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, so around the world it's consensus that you can be vegan and healthy at all stages of life. And that includes athletes as well. What do you think about that? Do you think those dietitians are lying? That's the question.
No, because they ran the science behind it. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think they're wrong.
So
But like when you have certain, like a child, like if they have deficiencies, it can like lead to like health problems and going forward in their
Sure.
life.
So do you think you actually have to consume the bodies of abused and murdered animals in order to get those nutrients, or would you prefer to get that from a supplement if you really had to?
The problem with supplements, yes, you can have them, but like it won't be the best alternative food source compared to, let's say, having a sometimes like maybe twice a week, maybe some meat or like chicken.
When you consider the animal's perspective, so these animals then they go into a slaughterhouse and they really try to get away from being murdered, right? They're enslaved their entire life. Many of them are actually forcibly impregnated, so they're raped.
That is true.
Knowing that, do you think that choosing the supplement once a week over than choosing an animal part, even if you really, really needed it, do you still think it justifies doing that to animals? Knowing you can be completely healthy just taking that one supplement a week.
Okay, I understand the morality of. Sorry.
That's okay.
I understand the morality, of course, like those animals. Like, but what happens? Well, you have farms these days that are natural, so there are
Sorry,
farms.
just before we move on,
Okay.
I will ask you: are you able to answer that question? Do you still think it justifies doing that to animals, even though rather than just taking that one supplement a week? Would you justify doing that to animals, knowing you can be healthy, taking a supplement?
I'd say it depends
Why does it depend?
on the morality of the person doing it.
So what would your stance be? Do you think for you personally it justifies sending animals into a slaughterhouse knowing that you can be completely healthy without doing that?
Sorry.
That's okay. What do you think? Would you be comfortable knowing what happens to animals and doing that on your behalf?
When you put it like that, maybe not.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
So do you think at some point you would consider going vegan?
I have actually been vegan for a bit of for like a year. I was a vegan, and
Okay, and what stopped you from being vegan?
mostly that. I know this may sound like a silly reason, but I didn't like almond milk.
Okay, what about any other milk?
I tried other milks. They weren't as good. I know that isn't the best reason, but that is just a personal reason.
So then I have to ask you, do you still think that taste justifies abusing and murdering animals?
No, it doesn't.
Are you aware of what happens in the dairy industry?
Yes.
Yeah, can you explain a little bit?
Okay. So as these animals, of course, like are put like with fertilizers and lots of like needles and such. I think. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. Yeah, okay.
They are like, of course, like forced to, of course, reproduce and have more kids, and then basically.
Do you know what that's called by definition? To forcibly impregnate somebody?
Rape.
Rape. What do you know what happens to the male calves when they're born and they don't produce any milk?
They would kill them.
They would, indeed. And what happens to the mother cows when they don't produce enough milk?
They would kill them.
Absolutely. Do you think that's a justifiable thing to do?
No.
No. So knowing that, even if you didn't like the taste of almond milk, maybe you could try other milks or have no milk at all and get your calcium elsewhere. Would you consider that over doing that to dairy cows?
No, not really.
Sorry, what do you mean by that? You're doing really well, by the way.
I get like why you wouldn't want, because those animals, they're like innocent, they didn't choose, they were just like born and then like they're like immediately slaughtered if they don't produce any milk.
Sure.
And,
but even if they do
useless.
produce milk at a fraction of their lifespan, they will still be slaughtered and turned into meat.
They will.
Now imagine yourself in their position. I mean, as a child, and you can imagine your relationship with your mother. If you were separated from your mum and you were never going to see your mum again, and then at some point very soon your mum would be murdered because she doesn't produce enough milk, how would you personally feel in that situation?
I would be I would be devastated inside.
Yeah, so would I. Knowing that you don't have to be responsible for that and you can choose the non-dairy version and get your nutrients elsewhere, what's stopping you from no longer contributing to that?
Nothing really.
Nothing.
But there are farms now. Of course, they're a lot less, but there are certain farms out there that will wait for the cow to die naturally, and then they will, of course, take the meat and everything.
Okay, so even after they've stopped producing any milk, etc. So do you still think just because they died naturally, it's okay to then forcibly to enslave them, to rape them, separate them from their kids?
No, in the end of the day, it morally is not right.
Knowing you don't have to contribute to that at all and you can just choose the vegan option. What's stopping you from being vegan? Would you consider going vegan at some point in the future? Again, knowing what happens to these animals and knowing that you could be very healthy.
Maybe.
Yeah. And when you consider yourself in the animal's perspective, how soon would you want your oppressor to go vegan and no longer do these things to you? How soon?
I know you might not accept this answer, but really depends. Like, I would have to think about it, and of course think about like more on it in like maybe a few months or weeks, and like think about how it would change. Like, of course I won't have to do anything much. I'll just have to switch my food.
It's just about choosing the other option, right?
Yeah.
And you do know that so long as you choose to keep thinking about it, animals will be abused and murdered so long as you choose to do that.
I know that.
Would you be comfortable knowing that everything that I just described that happens to those animals, would you be comfortable living on each day knowing that happens? Knowing that just after this conversation, every meal that you choose to have, you can just say, I want the vegan option.
I could, of course, eat the alternative sauce.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I'll just ask you one more question.
Yep.
Let's say tomorrow that your parents put dogs on the table for dinner, dead dogs. How would you feel about that?
I'd feel sad because we have that emotional bond with dogs, but we might not have the same for cows or pigs.
Absolutely. Do you think that just because we don't have that emotional bond, it justifies doing that to those animals, whether they're a dog or not?
No, not really.
Yes.
Because
What would you do? Oh, so go on.
They still have living souls, and like, of course, yes.
Absolutely. What would you do if your parents put a dead dog on your table for dinner?
I'd probably refuse it
Why?
because
Like
dogs
you
are
said.
my favourite pet.
Yeah.
I prefer them over cats, but yes.
Sure.
Yes.
Now, what's stopping you from refusing it if it was any other animal, knowing that there's no difference?
Nothing really.
Nothing. So you think you might become a vegan again?
Maybe. It's not a definitive no or not a definitive yes either.
Why would it just not be a definite, knowing that what happens to those animals is so severe? It's not taking anything away from you, but it takes everything away from them, their entire life. Are you comfortable living on knowing that you're not being consistent with your values? You're doing really well.
Yes, it is. It's sad what happens to those animals. I know I'm bringing up the same points again and again, but it's just like, for me, like, I do enjoy my. I know it's pretty like sad. It's really sad what happens to these animals. Like their entire existence is just prone to being just a provider to food and meat and nothing else really. That's
Spot
their
on.
entire existence. When you look at farms, they're all clustered up together and like very compact with tags on their necks, and so maybe I know, but it's just like one of those things that's like.
Does your taste pleasure justify murdering an animal?
No.
So it really says that you have no justification, and it's more just like I just want to keep doing it. Do you still think if you were in their position, you would want someone to go vegan as soon as possible and not wait? Would you want them to go vegan tomorrow and start speaking up for you?
Yes, but the problem is if I do become vegan, hundreds of animals are still being slaughtered. Like
I agree, they will still be slaughtered, but it all starts with the individual, right?
it does.
Human slavery once existed. Just because everyone else was being a part of it, does that mean it was okay for you to be a part of it?
No, of course not.
No, it starts with you. And the reason we're out here speaking up today is because if we were in their position, we would want people speaking up for us, just as I would for you if you're in their position. So what's stopping you from actually going vegan and starting to speak up about these atrocities?
Nothing really, no. Some people might just disagree with me, but that's okay. I respect their opinion. But I would understand, like morally, I would feel bad for those animals and maybe try and like tell them, like, okay, these animals, like how you're telling me.
Yes. Sounds like you should be a vegan. Would you agree? Based on your values and everything you've told me today.
Sorry.
No, that's
like-
fine. Yes or no? What do you think?
I can't say. I genuinely just can't say. I know you've given me millions of reasons why.
I'm basing this on your reasons.
I know.
I'm asking you questions, and you're pretty much telling me I should be vegan, practically speak, like logically speaking.
I genuinely just can't do it. Okay, it's just like
Can't do it, so can't do what?
I might, like, let's say become vegan. I might. Yeah.
Yeah?
Yep.
What's stopping you from going vegan after this conversation?
Nothing really.
Will you do it?
Maybe. I'm sorry.
No, that was such a great conversation. Thank you so much.
You're
It was a great conversation. You're a very, very smart person. Like you're good with your words.
Okay.
You really think.
Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much.
Sorry, we didn't catch your name.
I'm Jack.
Jack, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Your name?
Mary.
Mary.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you too.
Nice to
Well, I'm happy we finished today with that conversation. It's been hard to get people to actually sit down, and you just sat down.
We saw you. We were going to get some coffee, and we saw you, and he said, "Oh, I'm going to chat with him." And then we were sitting in the cafe, and we were supposed to go into town. He goes, "No, Mum, I want to go back." And so we came back. It was just to talk to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Great conversation.
Yeah.
Great conversation.
Okay, I have one question. Are you still do you have like a YouTube channel? Or what?
I do. Do you want to see the YouTube channel? Because this.
No, thank you. I have to like go now.
No, I want to watch.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
It's I can spell it out for you, and you can chuck it in.
Yeah, sure.
Is this video being made for YouTube right now?
If you're happy with
Would
that.
you
I'm
put it
okay
in-
with it.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
it would be awesome.
on YouTube?
Seriously, it's really
You'll
good.
probably get a lot of views about 12-year-old debating
I
with
think
a
you're
grown
right.
man about
I think you're very much right. Oh, my hands are so cold.
Are you going to wrap up now?
I think so.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah, good idea,
freezing.
Yeah.
Fruit. That's me there. Jack Higgs, that one there.
Cool. Yeah.
All yours.
I'm going to subscribe to you.
Awesome. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Nice to meet you.
Have a-
And yeah, all the best.
Thank you.
You can find a lot of vegan places here, though.
It's great here. It's great. Awesome. All right. Well, you guys
I'm
have
probably gonna show my class this video.
I hope you do. Yeah.
Watch this video. I'll do it.
That is so
What are you
good.
gonna title this video?
I have to think about that. It's all about getting
it
people
just-
to click, right?
Yeah, you have to make
I reckon
it
it should be
seem-
titled "Non-Vegan Goes Vegan."
Simple.